Hi again. We are now all the way down to Explore Performance Task Prompt 2D, where you will spend some time explaining and detailing the data that your computing innovation uses as it interacts with the user or the consumer. So I want to go back and kind of refresh your memory about some things that I said in the introduction video for the Explore Performance Task. When you selected or do select a computing innovation, it is important, sort of imperative, that you select an innovation that has data that you can understand and wrap your mind around and feel comfortable explaining. That may come from the research that you've done, the reading that you've done, the interaction with the innovation itself, or from the personal interview that you do with a user of the innovation. So there are two rubric rows that pertain to assessing the explanation of the data. I want to go over the prompt first on this one, and then we'll get to the rubric row, and I want to sort of tie this together with some notes that we've taken in class about prompt 2D. So first, let's go over the prompt and break it down by its 3 bullets. Using specific detail, you are to describe, number 1, the data your innovation uses. You need to state the data in its least abstract form. You need to think about data types. So data can be a number, data can be a string, data can be an image that can be digitized, which obviously converts it into something that can be transferred digitally. So think about temperatures, heartbeat measures, GPS coordinates, signals, pulses, image files, video files, audio files, anything that is a number, an audio, a picture, a pulse, something that can be converted into a digital low form and therefore transferred. If you can't find that, don't know it on your own, please look in the product specifications and dig into the way that your innovation works to interact with the information that it collects or produces. So that's the first sentence that you're going to write. Then you're going to talk about how your innovation consumes or takes in information, produces something, and or transforms. You don't have to do all 3 of these. It's great if you do, but it says and or transforms. The third thing that you have to do is talk about a storage concern, privacy concern, or security concern. So what is a issue that people may have, a fear that people may have, a security risk associated with this, something that may happen. Most of these sort of would be a negative or a worst case scenario from the use of the innovation. Now, this is broken down in 2 rows on the rubric. So prompts or bullet here 1 and 2 are row 6. This 3rd bullet about the security, storage, and concern are row 7. So like I've told you on the other things that we've done and what we've talked about in class, my suggestion is that you break this section into a paragraph and the next section into a separate little paragraph. They're both going to be relatively short and very technical in nature, but you need to break them apart and have 2 paragraphs here. And obviously, I'm going to tell you again, use a source to back up what you are saying. It will drive home the point that you are making. You might cite the same source that you've used up above in C or 2A, but use a source as you have them. All right, I want to show you some examples because I think all 3 of my guys did a really good job on writing up their 2D section and talking about the data. So we're going to go in order. Here is fingerprint scanner. He talks about that fingerprint scanners use a sensitive pad, that would be the hardware side, to detect and generate a picture file with the ridges and whorls of a fingerprint. It picks out the characteristics, compares them against a database of fingerprints that have been pre-registered, and then he goes on to talk about what it does with that. He probably could have talked also about a digital image created from that. So I think he could have maybe gone just a little bit farther. Drone, he did an excellent job. He talks about the Phantom drone collects or is controlled in two ways. The first way is through a remote that emits a radio signal, that is data, collects data from the radio signal to the controller. The signal is interpreted when it flies. The second thing it does is he talks about it has a follow me camera feature. He cites a source here, and he also cites a source here. He talks about light waves that can be used and that it outputs information as a video file. So he kind of covers lots of data about how that particular drone works. Then we have the Apple Watch. Apple Watch uses touch, voice, Bluetooth, audio, and digital data to accomplish tasks. And to be honest with you, something like an Apple Watch, we have no idea what Apple's programmers might invent next to work with an Apple Watch. Like, the sky's the limit, really. So work with what you know. He talks about how data is input with a microphone, this touch force pressure sensitive screen. He talks about it has Wi-Fi, it has Bluetooth, data is used by the watch, and he goes on and on and on into details about the watch, and then he finally cites a source for the items that he did. So you're going to want to spend some time cataloging the data that your innovation uses and how it uses data and what it outputs, because most innovations collect and produce. You don't have to talk about both. I suggest that you do. I would shoot past the moon and try to get to the Milky Way on this one. I would talk about as much of the data as I could explain and understand. When you get to a storage concern, a privacy concern, or a security concern, data security concern can be hacking. A true fear or concern over something being hacked in a plausible way to cause damage or information identity theft, that can be a security concern or a privacy concern dealing with the data of a device. It doesn't relate to all of them, but it can relate to some of them. So that is prompt 2D, rows 6 and 7. We've got one more row to accomplish, and then I believe you will have all the information that you need to do a great job on your Explore Performance task.